What can you tell me about ALS?
Well, what do you want to know?
What does ALS stand for?
ALS stands for amyotrophic lateral sclerosis.
What does that mean?
Amyotrophic means lack of muscle growth. Lateral refers to the lateral tracts of the spinal cord where the motor neurons run. And sclerosis means degeneration.
I'm confused.
Try to think about it this way. Imagine your body as a ship on the ocean.
Okay, I want to be an aircraft carrier.
Okay, you are an aircraft carrier. Your brain is like the captain of the aircraft carrier. And your muscles are like the engines, because they make the aircraft carrier move.
And I have guns and fighter jets.
Okay, but let's not make this too complicated. Anyway, if the captain wants to send a message to the engines to make the ship move, he has to call on the telephone. The telephone wires are like the nerves in your body that carry messages from the brain to the muscles.
So with ALS, it's like the captain fell overboard?
No. With ALS, both the captain and the engines are working fine, but the telephone wires are not able to send messages from the captain to the engine room. The captain can make the ship move the way he wants it to.
Okay, I think I understand now. With ALS, messages can't get from the brain to the muscles, because the nerves aren't working correctly.
Exactly.
How many Americans have ALS?
About 20,000 at any given time.
How do you get ALS?
Nobody really knows. It's about 10% inherited and about 90% random.
Who gets ALS?
Usually people between ages 40 and 70. About 60% of the cases are in men, and 93% of people affected are white. Military veterans are also twice as likely to be affected.
What are the symptoms of ALS?
At first, the most common sign of ALS is muscle loss and weakness. A change in voice pitch can also be an early sign. Over time, it becomes increasingly difficult to move, speak, swallow and breathe. Eventually, patients have to use a wheelchair and a ventilator. ALS usually only affects motor neurons, so patients are still able to use their other senses of vision, hearing, smell and taste.
Is there a test for ALS?
Presently there is no established test for ALS. Doctors monitor patients over time to follow the progress of the disease once other diseases have been ruled out.
What is the prognosis for patients with ALS?
Unfortunately, the only prognosis is death. There is currently no known cure for the disease.
How long will patients live with ALS?
Most patients live for 2 to 5 years after diagnosis, but some patients have lived for more than 10 years.
Are there any famous people with ALS?
Lou Gehrig was a famous baseball player in the 1930s who died of ALS. Because of this, ALS is sometimes called Lou Gehrig's disease.
Anyone else?
Stephen Hawking is a famous physicist who has ALS. He is very unusual because he was diagnosed with ALS at age 21 in 1963, and he is still alive. Doctors think he has a rare form of ALS that progresses extremely slowly.
Well, thanks for telling me so much about ALS. I've learned a lot.